Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn with CCM, and we are here with our guest today, Selah, to talk about the Dove's digital red carpet and a new album and a new label launch. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, Jamie.
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we have Todd Smith, Alan Hall, and the woman who could sing your face off, Amy Perry. So this has been a really busy year for y'all. So how have y'all been handling the shelter in place and all of the dealings with COVID and everything?
Wow. Well, we'll try to jump in real quick. Our shows, as far as busyness, like most musicians, our last show was in March.
Mhm.
We actually just did one a couple weeks ago, an outdoor show in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, it was
Yeah.
amazing. That was what, September?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been from March. We hadn't played live for people to September, and it was amazing just to be with people again.
Mhm.
But so even though we weren't on the road busy, we've been working on that new album, the label launch, all this stuff. Amy's got stuff to share. She's got big changes. I've been working on my health. I had a little bit of a health scare in the summer, but I've lost almost 75 pounds. So I tried to put the time off the road to good use. So in that regard, it's been good. It's a double-edged sword, not out playing and working. It can be a challenge that way too. But so yeah, it's been that way. How about you guys?
Yeah, so we were in New York. My family, my daughters and I, and my wife were on a Broadway trip with their school. We were chaperones, so we saw the last performance of Wicked before
Wow.
everything shut down, and then got on a plane, came back home, and we didn't leave for probably 3 weeks. We didn't see anybody because we were in New York, and one of the people in our group tested positive early on, but none of us got it.
Mhm.
So then we just hunkered down, and yeah, it was working on album related stuff, recordings, just things like that. Now the kids are back in school, and we have the Step Into My Story coming out here real soon. So we've been really focusing on that.
Hey, you got some big stuff going.
Oh,
Whatever
yeah.
you want to say.
Well, the shutdown happened, and I live in California currently. And so I was suddenly thrust into the second grade with my child on his Zoom calls and having to micromanage homework all day.
I can't believe
Um,
he's that old now. I still think of him
I
as a little baby. Oh my goodness. Okay.
My husband just had to buy him new shoes yesterday, and they're men's size 6. He's 8 years old.
Hey,
He's gigantic.
I wear an 8.5.
I
His
know.
thing is almost as big
And
as
he was
mine.
like, Dad, I think they're going to be too small. Like, he's so big.
Oh my gosh.
But he's not great at the whole distance learning thing. He's very extroverted and social. And so we just had some stress with that. And then now I'm in the 3rd grade. I'm doing well. I love parallelograms, and I'm learning about the landforms in California. It's quite nice. Islands and inlets. But it's like, it's exhausting emotionally and physically. Like, the poor child, he's so donezo with school. But we actually decided over the summer, my husband had been kind of secretly wanting to move,
Mhm.
and he had lost his job in February right before COVID. And so the first couple months of quarantine were unemployed and stressed out and no money and like just, freaking out a little bit. But God really he provided, and he got a better job. And so we went on a trip to visit his family in Alabama and realized like we're way too far from everyone we want to see. My whole family, most of my family's in California, and everybody else for him is in Alabama. And I've got family in Texas. We just kind of,
Right.
decided, I thought I had this great idea. Like, let's just like move to somewhere like Texas. We'll be closer to your family. We'll still be kind of a quick flight to my family. And we just get out of this California. And then we made the decision, and then the whole world was on fire for like 6 weeks afterwards. And I was like, yeah, I think we made the right decision. Let's get out of here. And so we're actually moving in a couple weeks, and it's insane and awesome and kind of scary, but exciting. And
Jake had been praying about it for a long time, right?
he had been secretly like praying about moving since he lost his job in February. He really felt like we were supposed to leave California, but he knew he couldn't ask me to leave my family.
Mhm.
Or at least he felt like he didn't want to ask me that,
Right.
because, like, that's part of the reason why I moved home. And so he just began to quietly pray. And one time he mentioned, Texas kind of having an influx of technology-based jobs, and he's in IT and coding and software development. And so I don't know, he put inceptioned me with the whole Texas idea. And so then when I'm like, we should totally move to Texas, he's like, yeah, I've been asking God to do that for like 6 months. It's like, oh, okay, let's do it then.
Oh, I totally understand the move. I bought a house basically seeing it on FaceTime. So completely,
Wow.
and I'm in it now. And if you could see it, there's boxes all around me. So it is a crazy time, but
Wow.
it's very interesting, the doors that God has opened. It seems like for so many people during this time when you think that nothing is going to happen good, that there are good moments in
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys are nominated again for Doves to this time, Inspirational Album of the Year for Firm Foundation, and Inspirational Song of the Year, Yet Not I, but though through I can't talk today.
It's the longest title in the world.
It is. Yet not I, but through Christ in me. But
Yes,
it is.
thank you.
We just refer to it as Yet Not
We call
I,
it Yet
even though
Not I.
we're allowed
When
to.
when we saw that and they pitched it, I was like, yeesh. I was like, the title takes up all the chart anyway,
Yes.
we're in the studio.
Yeah, I've been practicing all morning and still didn't get it right, but that's okay. What does it feel like to still, after being in the industry for so long, to still be recognized by your peers for your hard work?
It's great. Well, how long has it been since the last, well, here we're approaching this coming March of 2021. We'll have been doing this for 24 years.
Wow.
And we signed back in the 90s. So the music industry is radically different now.
Yes.
I mean, of course
We had cassettes. when
yeah,
it first
our
started,
first
so-
few albums are on cassettes. That puts us back. But so it's been what, maybe 3 or 4 years since
Probably
we've even, or
since we won.
or
You
5?
Amaze Us.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably 4 years ago.
so
three or 4 years ago, the single.
let's see, was You Amazed? It seemed like 2014. I can't. It's been a number of years, and so it's nice to. I mean, I kind of in my mind, I was like, well, I don't know if that was their last time, or if we'll ever, it's nice. It's a nice acknowledgement from your peers, and so I mean, I'm real happy about it. I mean, I guess you
Yeah,
guys,
absolutely.
it kind of feels, I'm always like, hey, there's still life left in the old dogs yet, So
Yes, well, I will tell you that for my family, Selah has always been something that a group that we love very dearly. And I was just having a conversation with my mother this morning, who was like, "Oh, you're talking to Selah? Okay, you have to tell them how much I love them, how much they sing. Almost every night they sing me to sleep." And for me, it is something that I always play during my quiet time with God. So know that even though you may not feel like you're being recognized, people are listening to you constantly. That music is something that is so peaceful and calming for so many of us, and it's something that will bring us right to the throne of God. And I greatly appreciate it, and I love that you're still at it.
thank you.
What's your
You're
mom's
very
name?
welcome. My mom's name is Shirley.
Hey, Shirley.
Shirley.
Shout out.
Thanks for listening.
So you have been very busy, aside from the movie and aside from school. You have a new album coming out called Step Into My Story, and it's coming out in a very busy week for America.
Yes.
It is. It's what, 3 or 4 days after the election.
Yes.
Mhm.
3 or 4 days after the election. We actually, so the song's called Step Into My Story, but there's a single we're releasing right after the election called Hello Grace
Okay.
that I wrote with Michael Farron and Travis Ryan, and just even specifically looking at, regardless of where the election goes,
Mhm.
half of the country is not going to be happy.
Right.
And I think it's a time for the church, and let's just be honest that you could be on either side and you love Jesus, and there's not a specific side you have to choose. I think it's a time for us to really lead with grace,
Mhm.
to lead the way that Jesus has commanded us to, where it's our loyalty is not first to a party. It is to our faith. It is to Jesus, who was a servant, who sacrificed, who forgave, who loved. And in a time of social media where there's so much discord and so much, oh, you disagree with me? Well, then I'm going to destroy your character.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a time for us to really speak into the lives of people, especially those we don't agree with, because there's so much power in that, and drawing someone close to you instead of pushing them away. And so that song, we're very intentional about releasing that at that point to remind believers, hey, this is what we're called to. We're bigger than this. We're called to grace.
So for the listener who sits down and listens to this album from start to finish, what do you want them to take away from it?
Gosh, I guess hope for sure.
Yeah.
Like the title track, "Step Into My Story." I love that song, and
Mhm.
a great producer, Chris Bevins, produced that song. Amy sings the fire out of it, as everybody
Always.
heard her saying no, so she would. But it's an upbeat song, but
Mhm.
the lyrics I think are really deep, don't you? For that type of, I mean,
For sure.
yeah, jump in and
I know I always get emotional when I talk about it. When we first decided to record it, it was just like, oh, that's a really good song. Like, I like that song. And then when you walk through some things and you look back at the lyrics, and
yeah,
by the time I went to record it, we had gone through the whole unemployment, learning at home, whatever they want to call it. Lots of challenges, and I just was dealing with a lot of grief over some things, and had just really felt for a couple of months just not like myself, and very weighed down, heavy laden, and I, going into the studio to sing that after having kind of walked through some really hard things in a short amount of time,
Mhm.
the words suddenly rang different to me. And I think for the entire album, it's just like Alan said, hope. So many people are battling just things that they never even thought that they would:
yeah,
depression, anxiety,
Isolation.
overwhelming grief, isolation, a feeling of hopelessness.
hmm
And I can say I felt all of those little things. I'm not suffering from depression, but I felt all of those things in the last few months, and thought to myself, is this what it feels like to suffer from anxiety on a regular basis? Because I
hmm
couldn't do this every day. This would kill me.
Yeah.
And then to stop and think people do deal with that every single day of their lives, and it's killing them. And so, having walked through some things and seeing kind of the other side of just mental health and just being so beaten down, listening to our album now that we completed, and we started it so long ago,
Mhm.
like 18 months or 2 years ago. But it's so amazing how God will put those songs in our path at a certain time, and then later on, as we're walking through things, those are the words that he uses to bring us out and to encourage us. And so I would just hope that when someone listens to this, that there would be a moment or a song or a line that would become the thing that they can cling to, the word of God, his truth and his promises, that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
yeah. And like Amy's, and like again, the song, it encouraged me. Like again, the lyrics are deep, like she was talking about, but it's in this kind of upbeat, like, yes, I can push through this thing. Like it, when I was going through my stuff, I'd play it over and over. I'd be like I can do this. I can make it. So hopefully, hope would be a big takeaway.
I'd say too, just along those lines, it is about hope. It's about God stepping into our stories. We've really stepped into His story, but because it is one long love story, and we all can look at our lives and look at great triumphs and tragedies and pain and failures, and you know getting back up on our feet through His strength. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things in particular about this song is that it's inspired by a guy who's from India, who lived in a one-bedroom house,
One room house.
That's
12
right.
by 6. 12
12
by
by
6. One
6.
room house.
Had a dream to be in music. He and his sister slept on the bed, and his parents slept on the floor. Raised by a wonderful Christian family. Eventually moves to Nashville, but he was sponsored by he was the child sponsor with One Child Ministries. So like you have World Vision, you have Compassion. For 14 years, a family from Memphis sponsored him and put him through school. It clothed him, it fed him, and eventually he made his way. He posted 10 years ago, I had $50 in my pocket when I got on a plane to go to college in Kentucky. And last year I became a US citizen. He's married. He has a little boy, and he's in the music industry. He's our manager,
Yeah.
Marcus Rickson. And so that's what inspired that story.
So
And that,
you guys have this album is your first project or release for Selah on your new label, and you
Yes.
happen to be the label owners and founders. Tell us, how did that all come about?
Oh goodness.
that was actually you.
Yeah. It what was it? A couple of years ago, I guess. We were on Curb, and we love our family at Curb. We were there for 21 years. Wonderful people. And then that contract finished, and we just started thinking, and they wanted us to continue, but we were like, the industry's changed so much. And even just on a practical level, and I won't get into the weeds, but like even just, delivery now, like, the days of wanting a CD placement in a, CDs are kind of gone now and everybody's streaming. So anybody can really, distribution is not controlled by the big conglomerates like it used to be. So I was just like, man, just on a practical level, I think we can get our own music out. And it was just like, we'd kind of hit that point of, it kind of lit a fire, I think, under us.
Yeah.
It kind of excited us again, because we've been doing this for over 2 decades now, and we're still loving the songs and the music. And every album, we're like, oh man, there's some good songs here. We're hoping that people still enjoying them. But it like lit a fire, I think, I don't know, it just got us excited.
Yeah, because then it's on you. You're building the relationship with Spotify. You're building the relationship with Apple and Pandora, and distributing it, getting it uploaded. We actually signed a distribution deal because CDs are still selling.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it's one of those things though where I would say even for a group that started with cassettes, and when Napster came along and in a way destroyed the industry, but then also has created a way to make it even bigger. But for me, there was a long time where it was like, why did I choose to go into music? This is the worst industry.
Yeah.
But now I can see the light, and there's so much potential. And so for people out there, you can do this, and it's really exciting. It's probably the most involved I've been in a project because there's just been so much to do. But I can't wait for people to hear it and the process. And whereas 2 years ago, we were like, he was the one who was like, hey, let's have a meeting. I instead of resigning, let's look at making a new label. And I was like, are you kidding? And I'm the risk taker. I grew up in Africa, I'm like,
I'm not usually, I'm more the middle. I'm like, play it safer, maybe middle ground. But so when I was like, wow, why am I feeling this? I just really felt a stirring, but like Todd said, it's exciting too. Like we've had to learn the executive stuff. So now we see why labels have these big staffs. We don't. It's the 3 of us. It's Todd and me and our longtime co-producer Jason that founded the label. And so Todd's been he's like doing all of he's been behind the social stuff and all the, like he said, digging in all the tech stuff with relationships with all the streamers and everything like that. And we've had to learn all this back end stuff, set up photo sessions, which a lot of people would say like, you guys are crazy. Why do you want to take all that on? But it's really been exciting to really build this for yourself. And we have total control of the music. And also, too, we wanted to start, the industry changed so much, we wanted to start being able to get music out a lot quicker. The old model of putting an album out every 2 years or 3 years has really kind of died. And so we wanted to be able to have that control to say, hey, if we want a song out like that, let's do it. So it's a quick decision process. It's
also,
really
if I can add 2 more things, the accounting is really clean. A lot of times if you've ever had a record contract, the accounting is so confusing. You don't know where your money is or what's this or how much are they holding in reserves or there's breakage fees or really you're taking breakage for streaming on CDs. There's so it's a really clean accounting practice that we want it to be very open. The other thing is we've got a new format as far as people can invest. So we can have investors and even engineers and producers where on the front end, they don't get paid as much because we don't have massive budgets, but on the back end, they get royalties.
And they earn it quicker,
Then they earn it quicker. And so it's a way, it's a new concept as far as how to create quality and also have everybody benefit from it.
And we hope to eventually expand with other artists. We're kind of the guinea pigs. We're testing it on ourselves first, but.
Yeah. Well, that is really exciting and really refreshing to hear. The Doves theme this year is called Carry the Change. What change that happened for you in 2020 do you hope to carry into 2021 with you?
Mike, do you want to go first? Mine's easy.
Yeah.
I was able to lose almost 75 pounds so far here in 2020. And I have probably another 50 to go to really hit kind of the goal. But that making these health changes, a little bit of a health scare. But the good thing that came out of that was like, I just turned 50 a few months ago too. And it's like, now I'm really taking my health seriously like I should have been for a long time. And so I want to carry that on through. I'm going to carry that on through. And so that's a big change for me health-wise. Just the weight loss continues, but not just weight loss, health improvement continues and habits really form and stick. So I am excited about that.
Yeah, I think for me, learning to release things. I think, I can be emotional and I want to hang on to people and to moments and to situations and to stuff that weighs me down. And I think just having, the carpet kind of pulled out from underneath us this year, and then making the decision to leave California, which is huge and hard and sad. And like, we had bought my grandparents' home that they built, and we bought it from my parents and we renovated it in the last 2 years. And so like, it was a big thing that I had to really release, because this world is not my home, right? This world is not the end game. And so to just be able to really trust God in releasing things that he doesn't want me to hold on to. And I think that for a long time, I've held on to a lot of things I shouldn't have. So definitely carrying that into 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I think some big empathy, loving people, understanding people. My goodness. There's so many things. I think with, COVID, just not knowing what was going to happen and seeing a world that was experiencing the exact same thing at the same time, no matter whether it was where I grew up in Congo, Africa, or whether it's here in the States, seeing the whole world walk through that at the same point. And so just being more mindful of people, more mindful of the community, and as believers, how do we walk and how do we show who Jesus is in a powerful way that shows compassion and empathy.
Yeah. Well, that is wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. And everyone, make sure you tune into the Dove Awards on October 30th at 7 p.m. Central Time on TBN. And on November 6th, their new album, Step Into My Story, releases. Make sure you download it, stream it, go buy a CD. And guys, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.